15, 20 minutes for us just to do a quick little high level. So let me ask both of you, because you can either be very redundant in this or show you a lot of stuff new. Where are you guys kind of managing your digital life besides the band? Or is what your database?
I mean, we manage this to submit deals. I work with Follow Boss and that Monday. I do have Google Workspace, but I don't use it the way it should be used.
Sure.
Everybody has their email, but we work everything through my account.
Yeah, and obviously for you, if you have follow-up boss your Monday, like those are a lot of the project management tools and lead follow-up tools that you're going to use for the actual business itself.
Yeah.
How much of your personal life do you run through Monday? Where do you run your personal life stuff? Home,
My regular
whatever,
account.
just on your calendar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just I have a special account and a family account.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
How about you, Tom?
0.
Where are you keeping, like, do you have goals? Yeah, do you have goals for yourself for the next 2 years?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And where is that tracked?
So I don't have it physically tracked.
Okay.
I just kind of do everything. I mean, I should be better. I need to be better. So like the calendar works like calendar recorded Monday.
Yeah, that's your business.
That's all here,
Yeah.
right? But for my personal life, I don't really track anything I should. So
Yeah.
I'm always forgetting.
Well, I mean,
so
look,
I got to do this the weekend.
But look, I get it if you're just doing real estate as a job, but if real estate's a career, your life and real estate have to interplay a lot, right? And a lot of times the real estate stuff funds the personal stuff, and that's how we do this.
Right.
So I'm not going to go over the entire Google suite. What I'm going through on my core 4, these core 4 set up on my Chrome at all times, and I use Chrome tabs so that I can get rid of them all at once and then bring them all back up, right? So for me, it's these 4. It's tasks, it's calendar, it's Gmail, and it's Drive. I don't think I'm going over anything wildly new in terms of how they're set up, but I wanted to more teach just my flow, how I stay organized with them, how tasks kind of becomes the parking lot or the dumping ground for a lot of stuff. It gets sorted there, and then I migrate stuff into my Drive and calendar from there, and then how I just kind of operate. I don't think I need to give either of you a masterclass on Gmail. I think we all understand how to use the program, how to do a lot of this stuff. Tasks, I think, is probably the one that's the most underutilized. So for me, here's tasks, right? And I'm going to make this a little smaller. So tasks for me, obviously we have to-do lists that we do. Now, I used to be the king of notebooks. I had all these notebooks that I had to bring forward days, grab everything I didn't complete, and rewrite to-do lists. What tasks has become as an easy way is to just break my life up. Oops, and I'm sorry, I did the backward tab on this thing. What tasks has become is for anything in my life, I just drop stuff into the appropriate place that I want. Right? So, as you go all the way out to the end here, you get more of my home and auto stuff. That's all of the things that are in here. Some of my general tasks that I want to look into. All of our recruiting stuff, Tom, when I was putting like our affiliation agreement templates in here, our lead gen master templates, the license status, all of that was in here. I have AI link lists. When license compliance comes due, I have stuff set up for that. My virtual admin task, this is just a ground for anything that I'm starting to do repetitively that I'm ready. My next hire is going to be a VA for myself. This is just starting to accrue. And once I get to about 15 things, I know it's time for me to hire enough for them to do. Q2 is a concept from like an Eisenhower matrix of like what's not urgent but super important to develop out. So that's some of my like longer term projects when I have time to do it. I do throw from command. These are just a lot of my open opportunities or people that I just want to make sure that I'm coming back to regularly. I just have a little due soon for some the LLC that I'm closing up that I don't need anymore. Personal production projects, just things that I want to do for my business. Little social media calendars for things that our team is focusing on. Just stuff that I need to do for the team. I have an MREA reading task list, and I'm going back through MREA and just dropping some things that I'm going to keep top of mind. And then I try and whip together a today report. So, for me, this has really helped. Like, across all of these, I may have close to 70, 80, task items or different line items in here. But instead of me trying to clutter them all up in just things to do, like, depending on where I'm at, my time block for the day, I know which one of these task boards I'm going to grab. And generally what I try and do is my today board, I try and actually finish at the end of the day. And then I'll go into my other task boards, and then I'll just drag stuff into this board when I want to bring something over. So some of the stuff too is like, let's say for example, a systematized marketing checklist for all listings. Leah and I spoke this morning. We actually want to have this done by next Friday. So I should write into here, I go into my calendar, I stick it on the time, and I'll set it for 12 o'clock that day. So that when I then flow back into my calendar, now it gets put right here.
Okay.
So then I'll come in, okay, once I do it, mark is completed, come back to my tasks, that's obviously taken off, and I can, for the sake of this, I'll uncheck it and bring it back.
So is the red, like, obviously a different color coded, but would that be like, that's a deadline?
Yep, so I also have some that are just the day track. So every single Tuesday, I pull market stats from 9 counties. So I have that every Tuesday, I have to make sure that I'm hitting that task board for that week, right? Every Tuesday, we want to make sure we know about any possible, opportunities for the team. We present them to the team. And then Leah has a separate task on Wednesday and Thursday, confirm and begin marketing materials. So I have recurring tasks that are going to happen every week. And then I have my specific tasks that I want to plop somewhere on my calendar specifically. So that's kind of the interplay between tasks and calendars themselves. For my business, for your business, like they're a little bit different in what we're focusing on. So your task boards, your lists, they're going to be different than mine. What I like about this is that I like Monday too. Monday has a lot of bells and whistles. A lot. And sometimes I get lost in the sauce of the bells and the whistles I kind of like the purity of just a list. I can't add anybody to my task board. I can't incorporate this with somebody else. This is just for me. Now, if somebody is asking my calendar, they can start to see stuff that gets put on there. But for me, this is very clean. I can only make lists and I can make tasks on those list boards. That's it. So for me, a very, very simple, getting back to that notebook style, just writing the list down. I found this was really good, but it links to my calendar, it's digital, it scales with me. I have tasks on my phone. So a lot of times when I'm on the train on the way in, I'm just putting stuff in. I'm just, dropping stuff that I'm thinking about late at night, early in the morning, instead of opening my laptop, going to tasks, I just drop stuff in and then I sort the next day. So that's the basic one for tasks. I don't feel like I need to go over this too much more. It's pretty straightforward in what it is. But that's why I ask about the personal stuff because, I have other things in here that I want to get, right? My Jeep stuff, all the other things, my DMV stuff that I just for my new car. Like this actually, I used to have a lot more stuff in here for things that I was doing around the house and stuff. Calendar. We all basically have a good idea with calendar. My one recommendation for you is that if you don't have a lot of your stuff recurring, have it recurring. I don't really need to go into a ton more detail with that. I do share calendars with my wife and stuff like that. So I have a calendar brought up here. Other than sharing calendars, I don't know how much more to explain with your calendar.
How do you blend this with iCloud? Because it's
Yeah.
that's where I found glitches before, where it's I'm more Apple driven, and then of course you have Google that doesn't really sometimes get along with Apple. And how do I merge those systems?
So let me ask you a question. Do you have an iPhone?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm all Apple. So do you use the native calendar app on the iPhone?
I do.
Okay. Inside of the native calendar app, do you have the way to import another calendar?
Most likely.
Okay.
If it's built out.
Inside of your calendar, inside of your settings, you can generally find a section, and I just normally ChatGPT the how to do it type thing. But I can generally share my calendar, or go to my export. I can actually export my calendar to somewhere else, and it'll provide me a link or something to do so, and then I can drop that into another calendar.
Because where I'm at, the reason I'm here, I have Google Workspace, right? And I just set up everyone with their individual emails that I do business. I mean, my assistant. But for me, it's now, it's I've always ran an app off the Apple and the Apple calendar, but now I'm going to merge it and run everything off the Google Workspace.
Yeah. I find having two calendars, it's going to be problematic. Apple and Google, while they generally play well together, you're not going to find a seamless transition. So my recommendation would be pick one, sunset out of one calendar, sunrise into the other calendar.
Okay.
I prefer the Google Calendar app on my phone.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Because I have I don't even use the mail like that. Like you said, native to iPhone. I just go straight to the Google or Gmail app.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have my Google Maps, Google Calendar, Gmail, tasks. I have all of and Drive, pretty much all on my page. I actually have a folder on my phone called shit I don't use. I put the native Apple Mail in there. Just because I realize that double entry bookkeeping, something will get lost or double written. So to answer the question would be just begin to migrate everything
You
you
just export my current calendar and then just upload it
yeah.
into Google Workspace and just.
And you may just take the next 60 days where you have to check both, but don't add anything new into the Apple Calendar. On a week-to-week basis, just anything that's on the Apple Calendar that you don't see on the Google, just migrate that stuff into the Google Calendar now, and then just Monday, check for the whole 7 days. Okay, good, I've checked all my Apple Calendar stuff. Now I just move to here. Because the other part is, and that's where we come to next, is that, we have our Gmail, right? So I haven't, I would love to turn off showing time notifications to my email because I think some people use it like a WeChat. But what I do personally like, is this little bar over here. So what I then can do is just hit tasks. It'll bring up my tasks, and if I try and add the task in here, I can grab my stuff right from here. I can pick which list that I want to put it on, whatever I'm going to do. Maybe it's an MRE reading one. Hit my add task, and I'll be able to just drop what I had from the email right into here, and it's already loaded up. I do the same thing with my calendar. If there's something in here that I want to add, I generally just try and drop it right from here instead of just constantly toggling back and forth between some of that stuff. So this bar I think is underutilized for a lot of folks. Is these little guys over here. I don't really touch contacts and I don't really touch keep. But there are other add-ons that you can do. I mean, the Chrome Store and the Chrome add-ons I think are really helpful. Yeah. But that's kind of how I use my Gmail now, is that as I'm flowing through stuff and you're checking all your little things that you have coming up and all the transactional stuff, I just have this open. I'll go to like my opportunity task stuff. And so from my emails, I can just dump stuff. So with him, I can then come in, create a subtask, right? Have a conversation, etc. Right? Based on what I need to have, from in here. And then it all obviously migrates back over as I come back in here. I think you guys get the point. And my MRI reading, now I have my opportunity tasks, I have my chat there, it's just dumped over here. There it is. So I have a conversation, great, mark is complete, done, and now it updates itself on here that it's been completed as well. So that's kind of my interplay between the two there. Other than that, I don't go a lot crazier with a lot of this. For me, the task board is the dumping ground. This was the biggest advancement, was just instead of carrying around notebooks, I basically have a computer and a phone at all times. I even had a Remarkable. That was my transition from paper to still liking to write my tasks down. And I was easier on storage, but still didn't link to my calendar, didn't link to my other stuff. I couldn't grip it that way. The only other things in here, you can write some little details, you can add some little subtasks, you can move them over. But that's about it. I can create some as like, this is a recurrent, some of these things become repeating or recurring tasks. But other than that, it's straightforward. Google Calendar, I bring in some other calendars just through that import and export tool. And then through my Gmail, it's really just about kind of adding stuff quickly in my calendar, adding stuff quickly in my tasks. Before I move to Drive, any questions on one of those three? Pretty straightforward. So my Drive was messy, to say the least. It was just, everything just got added to my Drive. But then every time I went to find for something, it was completely lost. So I prescribe very much by, I guess, I consider it a 6-18-3 method. 6-18-3 is, what are the 6 areas of my life? What are 3 things each week I need to do to improve those? And the 7 days of the week that I'm going to put on my calendar. 6 areas of my life, 3 tasks that are going to improve each week, and then 7. So I basically have my Drive now broken down into what I need them to be for peer groups. My Drive page should only be folders. I should not have a single document inside of my Drive. And then from there, working on as a real estate agent, again, all folders, all based on different projects that I've done with no individual documents. Inside of Pure, This is our team backend folder and then our team resources folder. This is what just the top one's what Leah and I can see. The bottom one is what all my employees can see. Leah made these, she just shared them with me, but I just pinned them into my own drive instead of constantly jumping into what's shared with me. Because I don't know about you guys, but Keller Williams apparently then does like a share all a lot of times. I have stuff shared from like Connecticut, California, random stuff. So I found shared reviews just as bad.
How do you pin it?
So
Where does it go?
yeah, so like let's take this pure real estate content thing.
Yeah.
So what I would generally, I think what I did was I went to organize, yeah, and then I hit add shortcut.
Okay.
And then when I do add shortcut, I could choose where in my drive world I wanted to have that created.
Okay.
So I just grab something from shared to me, and then the one here, you can see how the person icon is on this one and the person icon is on that one.
Sure.
That means that these folders have somebody who's shared inside of them.
Okay.
With this one, both of these, this little icon here, that's the shortcut icon, the little arrow that you see there. So that tells me these are just shortcuts for somebody else's drive that got shared into me, right? So, last one for me, when I was ATL. So same thing, like I didn't really have any just documents that sat in here. And this has just made my life so much easier. Right now I have this massive organized task board with everything I can possibly think of. My calendar and Gmail are just these like really in sync working machines that are really doing all my scheduling and all of my communication. And my drive is a very, very organized backend. I would say that, look, I don't think in theory this is all that complicated, but doing it is a pain in the ass. That's the kicker, right? It's that you actually have to sit down at a certain point, and every document, if I didn't have a folder for it, I'd make a folder for it. As you went down, like as I started, I was making folders almost every document, and then I'd be like, oh no, I already have an education resource. And then I'd find I had like resources for recruits, recruiting scripts, and recruit lists. Well, now I just have a folder called recruiting, and all three of those stuff. So I think the mental concept of just framing your Google Drive outline was the exercise. But my recall of good information is very quick now. And that's kind of where I will like literally end it with us. Is that at this point, anybody asks me for anything, it's generally about 30 to 60 seconds. I have that ready to go somewhere where I know exactly how to navigate towards it.
Yeah,
Because
that's what I need.
I just thought about, oh, what do you need? You need all my tax stuff? Great. I can jump right into my individual years. I have every single receipt and every single invoice from every single thing. My accountant has access to this one. So that's what I shared. That's what I shared out with them for stuff. Oh, I need to go in, some of our stuff for our Christmas planning, our fantasy football stuff. I drop right into there. I need all my stuff for Pure, but what am I working in? I'm working in our backend folder. Great, I have this, and I'm still teaching Leah about the documents things. So that's it. I just jump into here. What do I need when I have my LLC for the handyman stuff, all my docs and stuff like that. And that's it. I leave Ignite materials out just because we had an active project, but they'll be getting put back away pretty much soon. So ta-da, you're welcome. That is my general flow with Google Suite. There's a lot more in here. There's a ton more in here, right? We all use Sheets and Docs and different things like that, and Business Profile Manager. I use Google Meet really consistently. Obviously, I have Maps, but I don't do a lot with this stuff down here. I'll be honest. Like I'm not really settling into a lot of this stuff down here and spending a ton of time with it. I don't think they're everyday productivity tools. I think they're once in a while uses. We do use Google Forms for a lot of our listing entry and things like that, and that all populates inside of a little sheet that we have inside of our Google Drive. Groups and contacts, kind of, but not really. And that's kind of really where I land with a lot of this stuff. So, my other thing too is I've been with Keller Williams for 10 years. I don't see myself ever leaving Keller Williams. However, Google is broker agnostic. Google will be with me no matter what, right? Everybody talks about Google in Silicon Valley is like, you can climb the mountain, you just can't move it. Like, Google is the echelon of the entire digital space. It has the most data security. It also has some of the cheapest storage. I think I get 2 terabytes of storage for $9.99 a month. So for me, it's like, I could take a video from every house in Philadelphia for the next 10 years. I'm not going to scratch the surface of my data limits.
Right.
So I found when I was going to like my iCloud storage, now I do still have for my MacBook, I still run iCloud storage on that too. I think that's like $5 a month or $6 a month or something like that. And that is everything that I have just a folder on my desktop just called real estate. Anything that goes in that folder is saved in the cloud. So I always joke, like you can take my laptop, throw it outside, smash it. I can go to the Apple store, buy it, put in my Apple ID. no break-in service. So I think for me, Drive and then the iCloud storage was also a data security thing. We lose our phones, we drop our phones, and we're real estate agents. So like my entire world lives in these things. Like you're gonna be up a creek without paddle. Should you have a toddler dropping a sippy cup on your lap, but
Yeah.
you're magically. So that's about it. So I'll kind of wrap it up there. But if you guys have any other kind of, it doesn't have to be just about this. If you have other kind of how do you coordinate stuff, but we can go from there. But I think my biggest advice is get your drive organized and start using tasks as your Jay Papasan parking lot. Right? Jay always says anytime you take a class, take a blank sheet of paper at the end of your book. That's your parking lot. As you're going through the class, you're going to think of like, ooh, I could use this in my pre-close 1 week before. If I had something like this that I sent out to my client, that would be good. Let me create a standard operating procedure around it. That's what tasks became for me. It just became as I flow through my day, I would love to have a time block that is sit down and says inspiration for changes to my business. They come at the most random times. They just do. And so I'm like, I need something that's nimble with me on the go that I'm average, this is embarrassing. I average 10.5 hours of screen time on my phone a day.
I think that's rather common, to be honest.
It is for our industry, it is.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why would I choose a Remarkable, a notebook, a physical calendar? Why would I choose any of that to navigate my life
Yeah.
instead of here? Now, again, the Apple calendar, it's still a good calendar. My only issue is that it didn't have the coordination with the other things that I was using. So that for me, it just became
Yeah, it's like I have Google Calendars for everything. But the Apple, everything just, because of the Apple phone, just seems to live there. And it's like, I'm not a fan of it. And it's like, I have Google Workspace, and now it's like, I want to merge everything into Google and run everything out of Google Workspace.
Yeah. And I think it's just that's that, because you have stuff that you maybe set in your calendar that's more than a month or two out. Some likely less recurring as you go out that far, 3 months out by December, by January, whatever. But you are a once a week, migrate that entire week over to your Google Calendar and then just run off the Google Calendar for the week. But you probably how long, I mean, you've been using it for a while. You probably might need to do that for the next 12 to 16 weeks of just every week migrating anything from the Apple Calendar, making sure it's just in the Google Calendar. The more places you have to check, the less likely you're going to get everything done. That is a truism for everything.
Yeah. And I like what you were saying, like time block, it's almost impossible to time block with my role, right? Like everything comes on a day-to-day basis for the most part. I can only do I have to do appointments with vendors or agents, like they pick different times.
Yeah.
So as opposed to doing that, having like actual task lists and just going off of that, as opposed to like trying to block out each times outside of appointments, I feel like is definitely.
And I'm with you, Tom. And I think one of the big things too is like some of these days you get a little locked up, but some days I really like to leave white space because as soon as I have like today from 1 to 2, I left this open. Because there's timeless activities that I'm always going to have to do, lead generation, my marketing and stuff. But there are some of the tiny things. My white blocks are now a cue for me to open my task board. Yeah. That's what every white block, if I'm still sitting and working, it's not like, all right, well, what should I do today? What should I start to work on? I have a half hour, I have 45 minutes. Well, I just quickly float a task board. If I still have something in my today folder, I'm going to try and rip it. But I might be like, you know what? I have this provided CMA for all my current clients thing. I'm just going to drop this here real quick, and I'm going to work on this here in this little board right here. And I'm going to rip 3 CMAs for clients who bought more than 5 years ago. Send them out with a little message. Hey, did you know you probably have 150, 250,000 in equity in your property? So that has been a great help for me. Is like I always have a laundry list of things to do. Like vacation, wherever I'm at, as long as I have my cell phone, I have my all those other projects I know I need to get to. And again, we're just really talking about personal organization and these things, but we all have that time where it's like, all right, I'm 3:47. I got another hour here. What do I want to work on? I don't want to sit down and do a whole other session on lead gen, but I know I can work on one of these more clerical projects, these administrative projects. The goal for me though is to start moving everything that doesn't require me to do it to be pushed into this board. That's my biggest thing now. Is I can hire $5 an hour VAs who can do a lot of simple, recurring, simple tasks, right? And every VA is going to get like 5 tasks to do. And then every time I get 5 VAs, I'm going to hire a VA to just coordinate the other VAs. That was from when I went to Family Union. They were in Vegas. I went to the operational one, and they just said we have like 13 VAs in the background. 2 of those VAs oversee the other 11. And so we only really coordinate with 2 VAs, but they provide reports on every single thing that we want. Every single day, we're getting reports on every aspect of this stuff in our business. And they're like, I could use AI to do that, but we just have VAs that are doing this. They're scrubbing all this stuff. They all are only have visibility into their little thing. It's like the Oppenheimer compartmentalization of their VAs. No VA has access to the whole business drive. They only have access to their little bitty shared drives. And then the other 2 VAs just oversee what's in those drives. And it's like their ops person and their transaction coordinator each have one of those VAs. It's like the 6 ops VAs that are pulling in all those reports, the 5 transactional coordination VAs pulling all those reports to just one person each. And it's like it's a dream in terms of reporting and accountability. So that's my next migration, and they're gonna have access. But that's that's it.
But it works. I mean,
Yeah, and who's the guy down in Tennessee?
The guy with the big hat? That's-
No,
that's
that's Scott Maloof.
Yeah.
The guy with the big hat.
Yeah,
he does good business.
He does everything.
Yeah.
First.
David Huffaker. He came in for business planning clinic. He came at the Walnut Street office. He did that I think last year.
yeah.
David Huffaker. He runs a big expansion. So they do about 650 million in volume every year, and he's like my ops team is like 6 or 7 people, and then he's like we have close to 20 VAs that are running everything else. So
he's like VAs.
Yeah, and so David only operates with his 6 or 7 people, but then they each have 3 direct reports that are all
Right.
doing the clerical tasks.
And that's what you want. Like that's the higher you go up, the more you do. You
Correct.
want to report to one person and have them take care of the rest.
Well, and it's also you can scale the tasks out of your core people to keep them focused on problem solving, not
Yeah.
on data work.
Exactly.
Like, and he's like, that's why David Huffaker's like, numbers, because he used to be like a CFO.
Right.
But he's like, I don't need my capacity talent doing cul-de-sac talent work.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Thank you.
well, I appreciate you guys stopping in. All right.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Same, right? Do it, sir.
That's it. Yeah.